with their hands. And in a league where receiving tight ends are becoming a premium, it's no wonder this team took him here.
Well, everybody got come, mama cries, dead sons, Lord please. Plus you a liar, don't idolize and I don't admire. Been doing me for like ever. I'm a better me, more clever. It's a new way. We surfing, baby, new age. That's a certain, baby. Let's take a ride. Put your for the ones that die. It's vows tonight. Just you and I get lost tonight. Then lose your mind. Squad, I'm dead. 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 Squad, I'm dead.
The Ravens are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Chiefs hoping to build something solid with Carpenter.
He's been the subject of a fair amount of controversy after a mediocre season that culminated with one of the most impressive final games a defensive lineman has ever enjoyed. Critics claim he was the beneficiary of a tired offensive line, while his proponents cite an incredible swim and rip move that complement a powerful bull rush as the recipe to his success. If he struggles in the NFL and proves his critics right, it'll be interesting to see how much patience his new team has to watch him develop before moving in a different direction.
Adam, what can you tell us about the Bengals' newest player?
This is a player that many felt could be a solid role player in the NFL, but not a dominant force. That train of thought changed after one of the best defensive performances the College All-Star Game has ever seen. At times, it seemed as if he were everywhere on the field during the game, disrupting both the run and pass game for the opposition. Several scouts I spoke with pointed to that performance as evidence he could dominate at a high level, and sources have told me that more than one general manager felt he was the type of defender you could build a franchise around. Now all that's left for him to prove is if the All-Star Game was an aberration or a sign of things to come.
King jury so cold, made him blow the nose off the Sphinx. You think I'ma be some type of role model? I go full throttle, desperado. That's the motto. Vic in Chicago.
The Colts are now on the clock.
Your motto, she mean mugging like Frida Kahlo. Drinking
The Colts pick is in. Adam, give us the rundown.
If you go back and watch his pro day workout, you'll see this guy was a beast. One NFL defensive line coach put him through a brutal series of drills, and he came out of each one hungry for more. Matt Miller watched him on the sidelines and noticed he never took a knee, never got water, was always quick back to the line for another round. I spoke with the coach who ran his drills, and even he came away very impressed. It was his goal to find the kid's breaking point, but it never made an appearance. He's got a motor I can see causing fits for any offensive line. With this pick, their defensive line just got a much-needed injection of energy and attitude.
still in the hood, tell.
The Bears are now on the clock.
Club. The judge, you rappers is false flagging, you a fashion. What's cuz, what you know about? What's Velo? Why Barry Lee, your head ringing? Free Vic Mensa, I'm a star, chain swinging. This that music, you can blame Reagan. I'm ball mayin' without paying, y'all playing, we playing. My Himalayan, Gallardo, that's a sacrificial lamb. I'm seasoned Cam, no matter, blam. Pulling up with the crew. Oh my goodness. Must have done same with the roof. Oh my goodness. You sitting looking stupid on the stoop. Oh my goodness. I would take notes if I were you. Oh my goodness. This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north. Oh my goodness. Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The law, it's a shame, rhyme, crime.
Every other night I'm outside with the You ain't got chips, the world, you got chips. You could the next man's girl. Sounds harsh, but they been ripped apart my world. The way Kiss told it should never be misquoted. That you wave on the camera, we've been toting. Selling love potion my whole rap career. So your streams and downloads could never match the kids. We could go foreign for foreign until it's boring. My sheep will keep jumping the fence until you're snoring. Street poetry, I'm more Wale for Lauren. Till the world is mine like Illmatic and Lauren. Written on to a table full of fresh skin in the type of rappers we know. Got the right numbers on it. Burn the Carter down like I'm Nino.
Pulling up with the coupe. Oh my goodness. Must have done same with the roof. Oh my goodness. You sitting looking.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
I would take notes if I were you. Oh my goodness. This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north. Oh my goodness. Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw. Oh my goodness. The law, it's a shame, rhyme, crime.
Man. Too broke to pay attention. Man. Yeah. Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. That's it. A couple million make you stand different. Hey. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen. All I got is this ambition. You did. A couple million make you stand different. I am. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. The game is friendless. The pain is endless. The game changed. I blame these lame pretenders. My friends and Benzes parked at the entrance. Inside, you still hear the engine. Like, ren, this is your ending. If you're offended, I dare you defend it. This rushing through my blood like the Kremlin. I'm back with a vengeance. And this is what the sound of revenge is. Win-win. Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. That's it. A couple million make you stand different. Hey. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen. All I got is this ambition. You did. A couple million make you stand different. I am. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. Where I come from, you can't visit.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Hand gestures count.
All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
After a string of injuries his junior year and what looked like more of the same his senior year, he made the decision to leave the team. It was a difficult choice to make, but after consulting with the trainers and coaches, it seemed like the best long-term option. His body needed more time to heal from past injuries, and opting out of his senior year helped him make a complete recovery in preparation for the draft. So even though there wasn't a lot of recent tape on him, he did put on a good show at the Combine, convincing scouts he hadn't lost a step. Some teams were concerned with his competitiveness after foregoing that final year of eligibility, but at least one team was confident enough to pick him up. Now we'll see if this team can keep him healthy and on the field.
He's a fake baller, globe trotter, bank account $4. No, come on, I know you wanna pop collars. I know you wanna pop collar. Top dollar. Pull up in that top dollar. Yeah. She got that top dollar. Yeah. Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
He's a linebacker who has a bit of speed, but when it comes to quickly changing directions, he can struggle at times. During the drop back drills, it looked as if his first step or two when changing directions took longer than most NFL. on long-distance downs.
Talking about me use a mother 301 screaming 4-4 on my Louis. Papa tags by the mode on they dummy. Pretty much for a gold, black and yellow.
The Browns are now on the clock.
We had a go-go last week. We don't really care who got last week. Riding under me, the blog and really bumping me. Cause I'm bad. You don't want no problems with a GD, CPG. I'm the king of the streets. I never had to struggle when it to a beef. Always 10 toes, so it's hard.
Let's go to Adam Schefter now, who's got more to say about the Browns' latest pick.
It's a tough pill to swallow when you are doing everything you can to prepare for the combine and you push yourself to the point of injury. That was his case just 2 months ago. And once he was injured, it was goodbye to pre-draft evaluations for him. His draft stock may have taken a hit, but it didn't stop this team from picking him up. He should be good to go before camp, and it's great to see someone take a chance on him.
Was a baby, I was running for respect. You gon' get your with the set. Around here and talk crazy, you get we ran so many out of here. Wonder why young Licky never had a fear. Say it once, say it twice, you gon' get peace. Anybody ever ask what happened with the bleach? Running from they almost had me wanna slip. Way back at home, I started there. Around the same time, bumping till I burst a tip. I ain't know who went harder, made me wanna celebrate. Now we in the game and I'm so busy from the pain. Look at you like, dog, look where you came. I don't give a about, man, yeah, change. And let your style and I need my change. DMV, I'm a legging with my fears. Rapping, but I'm quiet when I'm near. Always plotting on the bitches and I'm plotting on my fears. We don't need no checks from the boys. We just need respect from the boys. We don't want to fall in love by the boys.
The Lions are now on the clock.
With the boys, yeah.
The Packers are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock.
Like the way it sounds, Frody? Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe. It's too hot, drop the top off the wagon. Lay back, fire like dragon. Man, I'm flying past Saturn. Out of here like I ain't that savage. Two. It's like I'm at the studio with Michael. You can hear me dancing on the beat. Bam, about to put a mansion on the beach. 100 Latins in your lobby. That's what happens when you're around with body. And I put that in my mommy. I will never give my heart to a I can just make a dance that goes with this song. Then I'ma be on. Basic, gonna dance to it. Basic.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, in it. Let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, in it. You gotta, baby, shake that. Shake that, shake that. You gotta, baby, shake that, shake that.
The Browns are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock.
My brothers, we all shine, nobody victims. I'm on these sweatsuits, black Pippins. I swag different. That's what I'm.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Short, you left your fam. I lay on beaches and swerving whips. You ain't serving, you just an urban myth. Every day, get ride around Queens on a jet ski, it's me. Every day, get to the day I die. Every day, get, man, I that, and I that, bouncing up and down, nearly broke. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, in it. Let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, in it.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Yeah. Starts with a feeling, and you ride it like a wave. Crashing so the sparks can come together. Don't need a reason why the universe was made. It goes on and on and on.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
And it's a long flight on this battle star where we fight for love no matter where we are.
The Titans are now on the clock.
In this universe, and it makes me feel.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock.
You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, and ooh. With all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything a man can feel.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
You're flashing, and I'm blinded by your light. I love the way you Jupiter is rising. You got me reacting like a lunatic tonight. I love the way the stars are all aligning. You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, and ooh. With all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything a man can feel. Well, honey, I'm feeling with you. You got me like, ooh.
You make me feel like the world's spinning like a satellite. You make me feel like the sun is blasting out a ray of light.
You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, and ooh. With all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything a man can feel. Well, honey, I'm feeling with you. Girl, you got me like, come on, You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, ooh. I'm feeling you. Yeah. You got me like, You got me like,
The Patriots are now on the clock. The Bengals are now on the clock.
I've been rolling on the freeway, I've been riding 85. I've been thinking way too much, and I'm way too gonna drive. I got anger in my chest, I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe.
Yellow view on my right leg, that's Gucci. Dig what I'm saying? Yellow view on my man, that's Gucci. Dig what I'm saying? Caught a little jet lag, but I'm golden. Yeah. We deserve Grammys and some Oscars. They deserve Whammies, they imposters. I be rolling with my project homies, it's a vibe. I just with the homie, it's a vibe. Over switch sides, it's a vibe. Yeah. I gon' do it, gon' do it, gon' do it. I gotta accept that I'm a. I pull up in several different options. That I would most ever. I shatter your dreams with with this cream I make. What? Gotta be on the thinker. I say. What?
The Ravens are now on the clock.
I was in the double law when I rolled.
Now that the Ravens have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about him.
Well, after facing relatively easy competition in college, a lot of scouts wanted to see how he would perform at the All-Star game. The results were a little disheartening. Of all the quarterbacks who participated, he seemed to struggle the most. Every drive he was involved in ended in either an interception or a fumble. A few scouts told me he struggled learning the offense through practice, and it clearly showed on game day. He may have difficulty picking up a new playbook, but that didn't stop a team from pulling the trigger on him. Let's see how he develops.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
He had just about as inconsistent of a season as a wide receiver could have, exploding for some huge numbers some games, only to follow them up in other games where he struggled to make a catch. Sources tell me there are major concerns with his hands, pointing to several key drops throughout his career. He'll be challenged by his new coaching staff to eliminate the drops, and will need to find the consistency that once had him the talk of this year's wide receiver class. He hopes to last in the NFL.
That I would most ever. I shatter your dreams with this cream I make. What? Gotta be on the thinker. I say. What? I can't feel my toes, but they gon' fold up. I was in the double law when I rolled. Yeah.
I feel like I should be giving up. You can't leave it's too much. But I'm tired of you, me on. And I don't like where this is going. And I've been stuck in all your apologies. Gave my all, but you want it all from me. Keep your love, it doesn't feel the same. I hope it hurts you when you hear my name.
Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Put my problems in them. Only check up when the checks come.
The Colts are now on the clock.
All the talking never stressed us. They talking like they jealous of me. They talking like they never love me. They talking like they next door. I still treat them like so.
The Saints are now on the clock.
I've been working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Promises and wishes, candles for my exes now. Ain't no fingers let to count my blessing now. Promises and wishes, trust me, it's been different now. No rings for the things I go missing now. Promises and wishes, why would I ever start celebrating? Why would I ever start celebrating? I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. The shower's on the way. I've been working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women.
The Saints are now on the clock.
I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place, yeah.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
You already know though. It's Adamville for real. You see ya, just take a photo. I'm reppin' that on photo with a on your brodo. Cause that Jodo thought that he could rob a player for some dodo. Oh no, I'm so Allen Temple. I'm so England Mountain. I'm so Misty Valley. And I got a couple.
The Giants are now on the clock.
From the valley, bought me brand new balance. Better playing with a no American dream, dusty road. Man, she been riding since her daddy rode on bold.
Adam, what can you tell us about the Giants' newest player?
He's a gifted tight end who had scouts buzzing to begin the season. Just as the hype surrounding him was hitting an all-time high, he was plagued by a series of critical fumbles, leaving draft experts wondering what went wrong. Sources tell me that after the season ended, he began working with a sports psychologist to help curb the fumbling issues. He performed well at both his pro day and at the combine, but has yet to demonstrate his grip on the ball after contact. Clearly, this is a team that feels the fumbling issues are behind him and are confident his upside far outweighs any of the potential risk.
Kill him softly with my press, won't even address. They say it lonely at the top, this the best. And even if we die today, gon' live forever, live forever.
Daddy pants say with 3 S's. Hit the S's, no S's on my chest, but all these diamonds got me blessed. Usually I don't do this. Dumb it down, go stupid. Since 17, been counting M's, my bank accounts on Goofy. Say, gave up. Now who know what the truth is? Chicago full of, my garage is full of hoop. This got that southern drawl and all that. My like ball bags. The South got something to say, and all y'all can't get y'all ball back. If I ain't a hot boy, then what do you call sacks? Daddy fat, y'all never ball back. Like clocks in the wintertime, we stay eating like it's dinner time. Been feasting and feasting and feasting big, but it ain't no rhyme. We don't know the meaning of drought, cause we keep it so wet, boy, I swear now it's been a while. Just speaking in general, boy, there is no formidable opponent or at that bone that you never step on it. When you want it, mind the kind of give it hope when they down and out. Dig a hole so deep, ain't no climbing out.
Yeah, I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say it lonely at the top, but just the best. Don't you see me out here shining, barely flex.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say it lonely at the top, this the best. And even if we die today, don't live forever, live forever.
Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know though. So go, slow, back my logo, for show, Coco. Get down on the. Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know though. So go, slow, back my logo, for show, Coco. Now get down on it.
I go out for my squad and I put that on. Squad? All I got is my word and my word is my bond. Squad? Yeah, they gon' look at you different when you moving forward. But you stick to the code, you get yours, I get mine. Squad? Yeah.
The Browns are now on the clock.
My entourage, check my repertoire.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Where I go, you know it's reppin' time, it's reppin' time. When Latifah ready, when we set it off, we set it off. If they sleeping on me, I'ma wake them up, they fake as. I really do, I'm caking up, the rent is due. Plus I got my mama and my kiddies too, they growing up. Time is moving faster, what we wasting for, no holding back. Got a lot to prove, I owe you that we all we got. I go out for my squad and I put that on squad. All I got is my word and my word is my bond. Squad. Yeah, they gon' look at you different when you moving forward. Show this, but just stick to the code. You get yours, I get mine. I've been reflecting on how we got this far, even when the pressure's on, finessing strong. Plus I got my team around me heavy, ain't no extra bros. You can keep them. Giuseppe's on delusional. Who gon' be there for you if you lose it all? Question that, who gon' have your mama back?
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
There's so much more to life, take advantage. We gon' get this money, stack this paper, and be alright. We gon' run it, keep on business on sight. I go out for my squad and I put that on squad.
The Colts are now on the clock.
All I got is my word and my word is my bond. Squad. Yeah, they gon' look at you different when you moving forward. But just stick to the code, you get yours, I get mine. Squad.
People tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a code with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Man,
The Redskins are now on the clock.
spend about 60 on the time. I can't.
The Texans are now on the clock.
No way out, do or die. So on roll when I roll, must be. Amen, man.
I can't rob Benz, I don't do peace. I beast, I gotta eat. Saber tooth, tiger, diamond tooth teeth. Rockin' right now, won't you come peep? I was outside. The way that shake, leave your mouth wide. You need to say grace for you say thanks.
Amen, man. Just love.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
I've been dealing with these blessings that I can't ignore. Putting up the numbers, we ain't keeping score. Man, amen. I here on the block, my side. Run it in the house for us 12 o'clock.
The Lions are now on the clock.
But you gotta watch.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Amen.
Now that the Broncos have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter for more.
He's always been known as a smart runner, and if you just look at what he did at the All-Star game, you'd see why he gets that recognition. Every time he was handed the ball, there was no indecisiveness as he attacked the gap and didn't waste time reading the blocks. And when the line failed to open up anything, he still found ways to get a few yards. As Matt Miller put it, he may not be the strongest or fastest, but his vision more than makes up for any deficiency. He could very well become an every down back, which is exactly what this team could use.
Man, put him into me. Everybody try to take
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
me. Sit back while I take on a remedy. I cannot let it get into me. This playing a toll on me, meant to me.
king is born. I told you before, a king is born. Now
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Like a beast in the jungle, in the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose. Hey, I've been fighting these hard times in the ghettos of my mind.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad.
The Bears are now on the clock.
No one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown and throne is destined. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Like a bull in a glass house. No bull about to smash out. Can't nothing stand in my way. I don't care what the place is, from the penthouse to pavement. You better hear what I say. Hey, yeah. Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown and throne is destined. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. King is born. Yeah, I told you before. Yeah, a king is born. Been broke before, but I never been broken. I told you before.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
If there's one thing this defensive back is good at, it's the old bait the quarterback into throwing and picking it off trick. And he's not just good at it, he's great. He set the school record for interceptions in a season, and most of those interceptions happened when he baited the quarterback and forced him into poor decisions. He's also had his fair share of circus-style catches in tight coverage, the type of catches that even some receivers can't make. He may have a harder time picking off NFL quarterbacks, but his coverage ability is enough alone to warrant this team drafting him with this pick.
The Ravens are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock.
I heard these always hating, said I'll never make it. I heard these always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
It's okay.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Mad at me 'cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me 'cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I heard he's mad at me 'cause I'm shining. They ain't seen it when I'm young, out here grinding. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. Either way, young, getting paid, yeah. I heard he's mad at me 'cause I'm popping. They don't want it with some money in my pockets. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Always gonna hate, yeah.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Feed my. I'm supposed to make it out and I don't bring my. No way, no way, no way, yeah. They ones and they here to stay, yeah. I heard he's always hating, said I'll never make it. I heard he's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. I heard he's mad at me 'cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me 'cause
The Colts are now on the clock.
it's okay, yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah.
I heard he tryna lie me, but I ain't no dummy. It's okay, though, gotta, you really.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
And now I feel unlucky. If she love my diamond ring, she said she wanted.
The Saints are now on the clock.
I get 30K just to hit the stage. Hit my Michael, in my Michael J. I get cake, I cannot complain. Been finessing since I I was a kid in the 2nd grade, selling lemonade. Get paid, hold up, wait, can I get paid? Yawn, in a break, feel like I'm in space. See a snake, kill a snake, get paid. Get left every day, so get your straight.
I heard he's always hating, said I'll never make it. I heard he's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Mad cause I'm trying to feed my family. Why I gotta watch a friend more than an enemy? I had to stun on the that I'm supposed to stunt with. Had to cut you off, you was on some dun. You was supposed to be my dog, why you hate on me? They say success, turn your friends to some enemies. It's crazy.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Yeah, but I guess it's okay. My mama told me you would show me your ways. Yeah, but I gotta check with him. I had the bands. Pull up in the land. Diamonds on me look like Ernie. He's always hating, said I'll never make it. I heard he's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad.
The Giants are now on the clock.
It's okay, it's okay.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a straight.
The Bears are now on the clock.
You know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a straight. Make it rain just to let you know. Tell a hater get up out my face. Yeah, I've been ballin' since like yesterday. Yeah, all this money all up in the way. All this money in the way. You know that I'm walking with the bank. Yeah, water diamond on my ring. You know that I'm rockin' feel the blue. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a straight. Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a straight. Make it rain just to let you know. Yeah, you cannot see me, the windows is tinted. Yeah, driving around right in that Bentley. You driving around right in that Bentley. But your shit, it just be rented. Yeah.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Money won't stop me, go straight to the top. Believe it or not, you like getting the same. Yeah, she know I'm a rock star. Looking at my chain, on my diamonds rock hard. Turned the way up, I ain't getting tired.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Yeah, you know I've been ballin'.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
You know I've been ballin'. Every day I'm shot callin'.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a straight. Make it rain just to let you know.
Falling too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous. Everybody circling as vultures. Negative, nepotist. Everybody waiting for the fall of man. Everybody praying for the end of times. Everybody hoping they could be the one. I was born to run, I was born for this.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Pull me like a ripcord, break me down and build me up. I wanna be the slip, word upon your lip, rather that you rip, break me down and build me up. Whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes, 'cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes, yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins.
I do what it takes. Instead of fear of being typical, looking at my body feeling miserable. Always hanging on to the visual. I wanna be invisible. Looking at my years like I'm martyrdom. Everybody needs to be a part of them. Never be enough from the prodigal son. I was born to run, I was born for this.
Whip, run me like a racehorse, pull me like a ripcord, break me down and build me up. I wanna be the slip, word upon your lip, rather that you rip, break me down and build me up. Whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes, 'cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes, yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes.
The Texans are now on the clock.
'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins.
I do what it takes. So critical, egotistical. Don't wanna be the parenthetical, hypothetical. Working out of something that I'm proud of. Out of the box, an epoxy to the world and the vision we've lost. I'm an apostrophe. I'm just a symbol to remind you that there's more to see. I'm just a product of the system of catastrophe, and yet a masterpiece. And yet I'm half diseased, and when I am deceased, at least I go down to the grave and die happily, and leave the body of my soul to be.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
I do what it takes.
Whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes, 'cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes, yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes.
The Lions are now on the clock.
'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins.
I do what it takes.
As we go on, like we do, when it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you, what you need.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Sunshine in the summer breeze. Oh, let's ride. Baby, if you feel the same, let me know. If you feel the same, then let me know.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
What you got to lose?
The Titans are now on the clock.
Made it to see a whole nother summer and it feel good.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Through the neighborhood.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
That girl is poison like Belle Biv DeVoe. We have a barbecue to do at 4. Swimming pool party in the back on the low. And the plates of food will be laid out for free. Little kids, get down. I have a bus pull up with Tommy the Clown to do the jerk, go to work and do that dance that'll make your whole body hurt. Playing Bombardier, Common Clear. This that time of the year for everybody to be boisterous. Rock with Snoop Dogg and rejoice to this.
As we go on, like we do, when it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you, what you need. There's a little sunshine in the summer breeze. Oh, let's ride. Baby, if you feel the same, let me know. If you feel the same, then let me know. I wanna go.
shined up my white walls, night falls. I'm feeling good. I'm doing things that you never would, like surfing with the sharks or shooting in the dark, riding on a bike with my grandson at the park. Evolve while I elevate, take flight, levitate. Breakfast for dinner. I'm cold as but summer ain't the winter. Finna, bender, Kona, on a 3-wheel motion. I'm headed to the ocean. Caravan full of cars. Neighborhood.
The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Jaguars are now on the clock.
It's summertime. You go off and we go on.
As we go on.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Like we do when it's hot outside.
The Ravens are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock.
There's a little sunshine in the summer breeze. Let's ride. Baby, if you feel the same, let me know. If you feel the same, then let me know. I wanna know. Yes, I do. What you got to lose?
The Browns are now on the clock.
Do whatever, get you paid,
Cause, but I still low. Got 100 different to my cell phone. Still 33 for low. I'ma ride to my dog sitting in jail. He's that liner on the grass, spin it back, roll. I'm on Keller, I'm on special, I'm on flat, show.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Let them go. Then it's right back to the when I'm low. Mouths never close and we wide open. Kicking flavor with me, neighbor, yeah, we local. Rap the bottom, cause the bottom where we come from. Me no pray for little paper, need a lump sum. Real spill, yeah, I'd rather be a broke, real feel, little rich. All in love with her, she just wanna be a VIP with her. Don't blame me, oh, they just shake me. Had to get it, how I got it on my phone to be. Don't blame me, I'm what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me, I'm the same man.
I stay myself, I never change, yeah. Dirty sorta treat me like a stain, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
Matt Miller told me to look at a certain stat in regards to this defensive back, and that's average number of targets in a game. Not surprisingly, you see that number start to fall each week. He was a master of the bait and switch early in the year, on track to break records midway through the season. Eventually, quarterbacks gave up altogether trying to throw the ball in his direction, essentially taking away a receiver on every play. There's going to be an adjustment period now that he's in the NFL, but he certainly has the potential to be a shutdown defender for this team in the future.
Real spill, yeah, I'd rather be a broke, real feel, little rich. All in love with her, she just wanna be a VIP with her.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Oh, they just shake me, had to get it, how I got it on my phone to be. Don't blame me, I'm what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me, I'm the same man.
I stay myself, I never change, yeah. Dirty sorta treat me like a stain, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid, yeah. Roll it from the cradle to the grave, yeah.
Montana.
You know, I'm like, yeah, nice P, you know?
What up, Pink?
Man.
La música de Harry Fraud.
When I pull up, they notice me. Come and talk to me like Jodeci. But don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me. I
bring them things, I bring them things. I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things. I bring them things. I bring them things. Man, you don't want with them, bro. Oh, you.
The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock.
Wear that like a Chanel scarf like rainbow. $1,000. This ain't your cloth. You ain't.
Hold on now. This pick is trading teams.
Made for poodles. I'm thinking about the LaFerrari coupe. 1.8, the option is the roof. Greens is a secret to the youth. Your goals are malnourished.
The Giants are now on the clock.
I be laden. Yes, y'all be aping.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Diamonds just tourbillon facing with gears and sprockets with the sapphire casing.
When I pull up, they notice me. Come and talk to me like Jodeci. But don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me. I bring them things, I bring them things. I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things. I bring them things. I bring them things.
Here's a little story about a kid from Morocco. Had to show Carlito I was Benny Blanco. Check it out. Raindrop, all set. Plug, we the outlet. Shot put me in the box. I'm in the box off. All the face shorty, socks off. Mac Miller, Reggie Miller, the killer, Canaries, Black Stiller, White Villa, Fresh vanilla, garage like a kill him soft. Lauren Hiller, get up. Crib Calabasas on the hill. I had a morning plate. Beatles on the red carpet. Alcatraz bars, crash cars, ain't no future in front. My homie rip your mask.
How come nobody's at the podium? That's because both teams are right now working on a trade.
But don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me.
The Bears are now on the clock.
I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things. I bring them things. I bring them things.
You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes in my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes in my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Wanna come round there like a bad boy, do it. Want all the talking, go on and do it. Running through the party, bottle up. Rolls in my ear saying storms, don't do it. Devil on my shoulder, I don't lack. Hitting with the business, I don't scrap.
The Browns are now on the clock.
There's no car and no match.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Never had a thing, never had a pound. You were never bad then, you ain't bad now. Never had them, then look back down. Wait, I saw bare kicks, saw bare clothes. Said not that, I can't wear those. I don't like them, they're not my thing. They went silent, they're all weirdos. Like yeah, storm's gone clear. Never had a Tom Ford or a Montclair. Man, them a calm, but you see my don't dare. Tell them don't do it, don't dare. Don't care who you know from my block. You're not Al Capone, they can take my car and my creps. I'll still do the road in my socks. Like who's gonna stop me? You, him, little man. I got blue slims. Don't be an idiot, move smart. I've been killing it, new king. You were never ready for
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Group up. And when Crep went states for the BTs, I was covering Crep like a boot cut.
The Jets are now on the clock.
Dumb man, I broke no salary thing. Had a young thing called Amy.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Hashtag Murky Academy thing. You were like art and the gallery thing. Dumb boy there wanna chat about bars, wanna chat about. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look. I'm too hot. I got money in my shoebox. I'm the man of the house when my show sold out like the brother from the Boondocks. Beat Swan on my boombox. Still meat from the stew pot. Man, I'm go sick when my tune drops. Little man, that's a hooplo, not a hoopla. What? Pronounce it right. I got magic, I'm down to die for this. I don't care, bro, I'm down. Man stressed, so I'm bound to lie my slips. Wait, I'm bound to ride for flips. Real G's gonna ride around to this. Man, I got no time to write a diss. I never left my 9 to 5 for this waste man thing. I don't care what rave man's in. I came here to relax, but if it gets mad, make a young boy take man's things. Try to tell me I'm way too big to rebel. Nah, man, you're never too big to rebel. I was in the O2 singing my lungs out rude, but you're never too big for Adele. Leave my yard, blow a kiss to my girl. Salute to my sister as well. Gotta keep trophies down at my mum's bit. Man, I'm getting way too big for my shelf. Man, I see bare MCs on the sideline, but I still got a couple bangs in the pipeline. Man, I got grown men at me. You're getting way too old for the timeline. You're getting way too old for a diss. Should've looked after your kids. Get out the booth, go home to your son. It's never too late to commit. It's like man love, put my name in a random flight, get a plane to Qatar. This year I learned how to take care of business. Next year I'll learn how to play the guitar. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to twist up the truth. How dare you twist up the truth? Look, you're getting way.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet.
Now that the Texans have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more.
If you read Matt Miller's weekly draft stock report, you've seen this kid's name mentioned almost every week. He started the season relatively quiet, but each game he showed more and more of what scouts love to see. No doubt about it, this kid plays with heart and he plays tough. Watching him on the field, you can clearly see him go 100% and never waver. And on the sidelines, he looks like a natural leader, firing up his teammates or keeping them composed when necessary. I can see why scouts like Matt Miller have fallen in love with him. The coach and players have to be excited to have him on the team now.
A little stronger, a little wiser. Maybe a little more. Blame it on America. I'm pulling off the lot, I bought the cash. Whoa. Her future bright, don't give nobody bad. Whoa. Be looking good inside the whoa. But I noticed that she missing all the edges. Whoa. I run the game just by running with the whoa. Poor attitude, they got rich calisthenics. Whoa. Walking in the courtroom, sipping on the beverage. Whoa. I know the judge, so I got a lot of leverage.
The Lions are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Got a rapping acapella. Whoa. Kim Treasure people with the weapon. Whoa. I got it. Boy, don't make me be the devil. Whoa. He knocking on the door and know the password. Gave me his blessings.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Dead president, dead president, dead president, dead president.
Let's go, all my little militant. Let's go, innocent.
Dead president, dead president, dead president, dead president.
The Titans are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
I make money. On my third best foot in them. I got the airport. I got rolling green dollars on my dollars. Busting down 100 in the bathtub. Get some house shoes. I got money. I got war wounds. Get the cushion on that. Ain't no dance moves. I was posted on the stoop, hanging with my Haitians. On the news, on front page.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Ain't no relations. I was stacking being friends and bossing. 2 times in a row, that's a repeat. You end up, cause they easy. I'm in the freezy. She love me like she need me. I got my Maybach flooded out with extra TVs. I make her pick up every single day.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
When I flood the paddock face.
Dead president, dead president, dead president, dead president.
Let's go, all my little militant. Let's go, innocent.
Dead president, dead president, dead president, dead president.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Innocent.
Hands on me, got the yellow brace. Check off in my pocket like the yellow paste. Was when I was asking. Low facility, I keep it classy. Build an empire, yeah, that was my state of mind. Yeah, that was my state of mind. Keep the blocks over there, we call it Lego land. Meanwhile, it's like it's Amsterdam. Boy, fresh, you know who got the tropes. 16 when I bought my first rollie. Legend in my hood, just like a never ride in the extra car. Dead president, dead president. Dead president, dead president.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. On my little militant. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Innocent.
Dead president, dead president.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Dead president.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Innocent.
The Browns are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock.
Picture me putting my city all over the map. They wasn't believers, I had to get even and mad. We coming up, pulling up, jumping all over your grass.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
So tell them I got a new girl. Tell them that I'm in the bank and I want on my 50s in cash. I'm tired of living check to check. I need 20 models. This is smiling in my grave, fresh to death. I've been Wu-Tang with a spectral deck. Yeah, I got that I gotta just get off my chest. I cannot miss it, got last on my list and you next. Take it how you want it. I ain't famous like I want it, but I think I might just skirt off. Blow the speakers and turn up. Pop up. Go to church with my shirt off. Tell the Lord that I'm here now. I've been waiting for so long. I've been patient for so long. Breaking rules like there's no laws, and I did it for a long time. If you don't like me, take a ticket. There's a long line. Nice to meet me. I think the pleasure's all mine. They've been clocking me so long, I think they lost time.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock.
What you mean? And now
the Colts are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock.
What you mean? Don't know what you think, compare me to. Adrenaline popping, the blood will be leaking and running. Yeah. I do what I do, I don't care if you like it or love it. Tell all of my I got a new girl. Wait. You tell the that I'm in the bank and I want my money in hundreds. I'm tired of living on the edge. I want it. They gon' call the feds. I just bought a cost an arm and leg. My mama told me take it back and get a job instead. Where's your common sense? Me and the devil got too much in common, I swear.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Born in the ghetto, I never had nothing to fear.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
I ain't famous like I wanted, so I might just throw a hissy fit. Call up Cassie after she broke up with Diddy, yeah. I told Shorty if she talking, and she gon' call her friends up and...
The Giants are now on the clock.
Talking, go chop off your lips. If I ain't in your top...
The Packers are now on the clock.
Boys that knock off your lid. I thought y'all gon' pop off, so hop off my... What you mean? I said, what you mean? Listen, I don't trust her soul. No, I said, what you mean? Whoa, I said, what you mean?
The Bears are now on the clock.
You thought I was finished, you thought it was over. You thought I retired, you thought I was fishing with Kobe. I'm still as ill as considered as one of the coldest. Still a put a partner rapper here like Moses. I'm throwback like a molar roller. I'm cooler than a cup of yogurt. Black.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
I'm cool with laws and Ayatollahs. Rap God, Cyclops, and Ogre. I'm King Kong, ain't nobody told you. You think Rose still. And Bobby Brown about to go get. Paul McCartney, I'm rich. I'm Muhammad Ali, I talk. I'm James Brown, about to tear down this. I'm Michael Jackson, them baddest bag gon' get it. What you mean?
The Browns are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock.
Yeah. Young Gerald. Yeah. Yeah. Die line with the boom pow. Every week now I switch to it.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
The Patriots just made their pick. Adam, what can you tell us about Hunt?
One of this draft's toughest players. Here's a guy who played the majority of his final collegiate season with a broken foot. Long suffering with plantar fasciitis in the affected foot, doctors discovered several hairline fractures across the first, second, and third metatarsals during a routine therapy session. Translation? His foot was essentially shattered. Recovery took months, and he used the time wisely, studying film of just about every NFL team and preparing for interviews. No surprise that he blew scouts and even a few GMs away with his knowledge of NFL offensive schemes. This is an intelligent, hard-nosed defensive back who's going to make his fair share of big plays before his professional career is over.
You ain't no. Say less. Yeah. Say less. Hey girl, what it do? If you got friends, cool, bring a few through. No fun if the homies now R.I.P. Nate Dogg, this too true. And you know what I'm down for. Round 2, round 3, and a round 4. Mood switch when she knocked at the front door. Next up was the uproar. Yeah, was like a week ago, but we both know how weekends go. Tryna tuck off, got some places we could go. Swear she got the like wow, she's blessed, I'm blessed. I don't GA. You tryna yes on yes. Say less. Say less. You ain't go. Say less.
Sheesh. What you saying? I don't understand. I'm out my mind. I popped. Sheesh. I swear this lock shot got me stuttering. Girl, you not fall in love again. Sheesh. Get it. My favorite rush. You talkative, ain't gotta say too much.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Some grapes, I'm trying to. I'm off both of these. Get it. Not complicated. No conversation. Get it. Not complicated. No conversation.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Say less, please. Say less, please. Say less.
I'm blessed.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Yes.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Say less. You ain't go. Say less.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Say less. You ain't go. Say less.
The Titans are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature. Says disappear like second nature.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Later, whole team eating, but it's only right. There's a spare plate, but you're the phony type. J-Hut's ugly in it, baby 1 minute. You're looking
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
gentle, my stroke game mental, my lifestyle eventful.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Fendi belt saying I style like I'm mental, moving wild and mental. I made another 5 this week. Your money playing hide and seek. I don't even.
The Browns are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
The money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep the chip in my hair like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock.
Who's that in the passenger? Brown skin, got big body. In my face. On me. Money, I got that for me. You're not popping, never pop nothing. Stop bluffing. Your opinion, always destined for brilliance. Wouldn't rest on a million. Dressed as civilians. All them masked up looking creepy. Park up, jump out, jump in. Skirt out like it's too easy. If anybody else didn't see me. Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Put a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my hair like it's second nature. Make me stare like second nature.
The Giants are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock.
Look up.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
So many. I done made sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices.
The Browns are now on the clock.
That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. What you telling me? I sense the jealousy. I got telepathy. I got the recipe. I got the streets and I don't got no felony. Forward thinking, yeah, my mind is ahead of me. Mama said it's gonna be whatever you let it be. It's some homies I grew up with that's dead to me. It's some that I just.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
They respected me. I get in my way from Friday to Friday. My girl is a mix of Aaliyah and Sade. I came a long way from that Marvin and I pull out the driveway like I'm in a car chase speeding.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
She know I'm leaving.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Airplane mode, cold, no P coat, no time to change clothes, same clothes.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Leave, you do that to me, back to my destiny. Penthouse, bird's eye view, that's a nest for me. I got myself out of debt, so when you see me, know you somebody I'll never need. Sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me, never on it, enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life. Look, I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me, never on an enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time, I done sacrificed my own mind, I done sacrificed the club life, I done sacrificed my love life.
I done sacrificed the thug life, diamond shining, ain't no dull light. Drop my top to get my mind right, pull up in the Rari loud pipe. Them the dime, my wrist a Hyundai. Ooh, yeah, Gucci Python. Ooh, yeah, she play with her. Yeah, I bought that new charm. Pop on, I told her come see about me. Come on, come see. The devil had entered my soul, my mama had beat it out. The devil, my mama. Remember my grandma had told me you better be somebody. Hop in my seats massaging. Watch how I lead the passing. I made an M deposit. Paid all these dudes with the game.
The Texans are now on the clock.
For that stain, sacrifice.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
She sacrificed that money for white. Left hand got 3 rings. That's brum brum. We up one. Bad, dear savage. Take her to the mall and buy some. That's gonna wanna make your friends come. Make way with the timing. Tell me. Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? 10 toes, yeah, you gotta stay down, eh? Just some yawn, looking for a way out, eh? People watching, yeah, I gotta skip town, eh? Hit my phone if you need a hold.
The Lions are now on the clock.
So many sacrifices.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Great auntie was a slave. I could only imagine.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
I could only imagine all that she had to take. I'ma make sure all the she gave wasn't in vain. I sacrificed for your entertainment, boy. I'm Mr. Anderson in the Matrix. Check the last name, it's all facts. In the human race, it's all about pacing. Look at all the ones I outlasted. I'm the one at the end, like I count backwards. Never satisfied, details classified till the afterlife. Make a sacrifice down.
Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice?
The Vikings are now on the clock.
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this and born like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this with new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate. Then off your head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got realness. I just killed this 'cause it's in my DNA. I got millions, I got riches building in my DNA. I got dark, I got evil that rot inside my DNA. I got off, I got trouble, some heart inside my DNA. I just win again, then win again like Wimbledon I serve. Yeah, that's him again, the sound that in. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use a. Your hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that inside your DNA. Daddy probably.
The Rams are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock.
See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. Like been through, probably offend you. This is Paula's oldest son. I know conviction, burners, boosters, ballers, dead, redemption, scholars, fathers, kids, and I wish I was fed forgiveness. Yeah. Soldier's DNA, born inside the beast. My expertise checked out in 2nd grade. When I was 9, on sale motel, we didn't have nowhere to stay. At 29, I've done so well, hit cartwheel in my estate. And I'm gon' shine like I'm supposed to, antisocial extrovert. And excellent meaning extra work. And absentness, you hurt. And passiveness never struck my nerve. And that's a riff gonna be this case. The reason my power's here on earth. Salute the truth and the prophecy. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my.
The Ravens are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock.
Tell me something. You can't tell me nothing. I'd rather do than to listen to you. My DNA.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Abomination.
This how it is when you in the matrix, dodging bullets, reaping what you're sowing, stacking up the footage, living on the go and sleeping in the villa, sipping from a Grammy, walking in the building, diamond in the ceiling, marble on the floors, beaches out the window, peeking out the window, baby in the pool, Godfather goes, only Lord knows, I've been going hammer, dodging paparazzi, through the cameras, eating $4, Brock wearing sandals, yoga on a Monday, stretching till November, watching all the snakes, curving all the fakes, phone never own, I don't conversate, I don't compromise.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
These are the breaks, these are the times, level.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock.
I got winners on the way. You ain't without a on your belt. You ain't without a ticket on your plate. You ain't sick enough to put it on yourself. You ain't rich.
The Colts are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock. The Raiders are now on the clock.
Oh, are you listening? Oh, you gotta hit the ground. Ain't no chain gonna hold me down.
The Packers are now on the clock.
I heard a voice of his broken.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. They're going higher, 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 higher. Let go, set me free. Got the streets all I need. Going higher, 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 higher.
The Eagles are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock.
Boom, boom, can you feel the flame? Hold on, I can make it rain. Oh, do you hear the thunder? No, don't let it bring you down. Look up and see the light. You're not alone, don't give up like that. Oh, yeah, got a ways to go. Break that wall, let the spirit flow. I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. They're going higher and higher, higher, higher. Let go, set me free. Got the streets all I need. Going higher, 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 higher.
I come here today to talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and I don't like how we're treated, and just because of us doesn't mean anything to me.
It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing so long, yeah. It's just no way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? Now everybody got problems, yeah, but waiting no one way to solve them. I really came up from the bottom, struggling my mama on the last dollar.
Hustling, man, I've been putting in these hours. The government been trying to take away with sours. Really all about the money and the power. I just wanna see my people in power. Tell me how we gon' shape this vision. Complaining all day, but in the same condition. If you wanna make change, it's gon' take commitment. Some people enslaved by their religion can't emancipate the fundamental principles. When I see through optics, transform the wisdom. Watch me use my prophets, get them on the listen. I've been on a mission, and I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? Now everybody got fights, yeah, but wouldn't know what good advice was. Till they leave him lifeless. Another mama crying, it's another crisis. Lord knows we just trying to live righteous. Are you willing just to make the sacrifices? I know we can't continue living like this, and I never sell my soul cause that's priceless. Tell me how we gon' make a living. Hustle on the block, who gon' save the children? Man, it's all a plot and I'm just revealing. The media just trying to make a villain. I just take the pain and paint a picture. Voices in my head, I hear the whispers when I feel this way. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me?
It's just the way I feel. Mom's been wasting so long. It's just the way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm living on restless.
I said, Lord, can you help me?
I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. To me, Lord, can you help me?
I said, Lord, can you help me?